there, how are you? I'm Lisa. Thanks for visiting my channel. I am coming to you on a kind of cloudy Monday morning here in the mountains, and I just have a short little video I wanted to do today. It is kind of topical in nature as opposed to my usual project-oriented ones, although I do have two projects that will feature in this video. And the topic I wanted to talk to you about specifically is when you are making things, whatever your craft may be, at what point do you decide that the project has to be absolutely perfect, the way you had it envisioned, you're not willing to give on that, versus I'm happy this is done and it's not perfect, but finished is better than perfect. Those are the two things that I'm thinking about, and they pertain to the projects that I'm going to talk about. If you regularly watch my channel, you will have seen the one project, which is the one I'm actually wearing at the moment. It was supposed to be the granny, well, I think the pattern name was A Good Vintage Cardi. I can never remember the name of the designer, but I will put it down here. So it's my granny stripes cardigan that is clearly not a cardigan. It's sort of a cardigan vest, I guess, an open front vest. The other project that I'm going to talk about is this hat. That is just a very plain and simple hat. I made it for my husband for his Valentine's Day gift. It's got a doubled brim so that he can fold it up because he likes his hats to have that so his ears are nice and warm. And then the rest is stockinette. Nothing fancy at all. So in the making of these two projects, and I finished them both within a couple of days of each other, and that's what sort of got me thinking about this topic. One of these projects I really wanted to be perfect, and the other one it was like, I'm just glad it's done. It's fine. It'll be wearable, right? And I'm not sure if you can guess which one might be which, but I will tell you, the hat, I really wanted to be perfect. I wanted it to be perfect because it was something I was giving my husband as a gift. And I love him and I want it to be nice, even though it's just a hat. Hats don't have to be perfect to be functional and warm, right? But I wanted it to be perfect. I also wanted it to be perfect from the perspective of the kind of hats I know he likes and how I know he likes his hats to fit. And to that end, I did end up having to do some ripping back and re-knitting to get the sizing correct, the length of the stockinette part. But I did that and it was fine, and I was really, really happy with the hat when it was finished. I felt like I had achieved exactly what I was looking for, even though it did take some extra effort to get to that point. Okay, so this was my It Is Perfect, I am super happy with how this turned out project. This project, on the other hand, I started back in June of 2020. I had high hopes for this cardigan. I had seen pictures of it. It was beautiful. I really, really wanted it to be perfect because I thought I would get a ton of wear out of it. It's being crochet, it's much more open in the fabric, but being a wool blend, it's also warm. So I thought I could get a lot of wear out of this in the in-between seasons. However, I quickly hit design issues with the pattern. Now, I will say I am not the world's best crocheter. I am a knitter with a capital K, but I am not a crocheter with a capital C. I don't crochet as often, and I'm not as knowledgeable about it. So I am sure that part of the issue could be because I am not as adept at understanding crochet patterns. But still, I know some other people who use this pattern and also ran into some issues with it, so it could be partially the pattern as well. At any rate, I did finally, I worked on this off and on since June of 2020. I have not obviously been working on it consistently, but when I picked it up probably late last year and was looking at it, I realized that it seemed like it was going to be way too tight, like across here in the waist, and it was not. Like, you can tell even now that I've added these bands, like it's not wide enough for me to have had something that would button. So that was the point where I thought, okay, I need to mitigate disaster here because I did not want to waste all of this fabric. I mean, I put a lot of time and effort and yarn into this, and I wanted something that I'd be able to use out of it. So that was when I decided, you know what, I was just going to make it an open front, sleeveless vest kind of thing, and I would probably be able to wear it, and I will be able to wear it. I mean, I think it looks fine. Like, I'm really happy with these bands. It's like just one continuous band that I did the whole way around. It's about 2 inches wide, so that did give me some extra width, which is what I needed in the front. The armholes are a little bigger than they really need to be, but I think they would have also been problematic as putting sleeves on them too, because I would have had a lot of extra fabric here. But again, this was not a project by that point that I realized I had issues going on, that I was willing to rip a lot out of, because number one, these are all short little stripes. I was going to end up with tons of tiny little balls of yarn. I wasn't into that. I didn't want to do that. So I made it work. I made it work for what it is. So I think it's fine. I did some creative decreasing here at the top. So when I was putting these little single crochet, it's really just one. I picked up the stitches and then did one round of crochet for the armbands, just to try to bring them in, because they were originally kind of going like this. And I didn't want like this ends pointing out. Blocking also helped that. And blocking did actually give me a little bit more horizontal width in the fabric. I was not expecting it to do that, because it definitely does not have the give, the horizontal give that knit fabric has. But that was another thing I just didn't know, because I had never crocheted a garment before. Anyway, long story short, it's done, and I'm glad it's done. It is not perfect, but I am okay with that. So that's my question to you. When you're making, what is it that lets you decide, no, this absolutely has to be perfect or it's not done, versus it's not perfect, but it's finished. I am done with this. What is it that helps you make that decision? And as I've thought about that for me, why there are some projects that I'm perfectly content with just being finished, not perfect, versus projects that I need to have perfect. And as I thought about that, I think the number one thing is it a gift? If it's something that I'm giving to someone else, even my husband, who honestly could care less if his hats are perfect, because he could care less. As long as it fits, that's all he cares about. As long as it'll keep his ears warm. But if it's a gift, if it's something I'm giving to somebody else, it needs to be perfect. I'm thinking back to a lot of different projects that I've done lately. Like I did the convertible fingerless gloves for my son. If you've watched the channel for a while, you would have heard about those over the past few years, because those took me a while to actually get finished too. They were a pain in the butt to make, but I was going to get them as close to perfect as I could to give to him. And I did. And I was really happy with the end product, even though they took me freaking forever to make. And I will probably never make another pair of them. But they were perfect as far as I could get them. And I was really happy with that. I was not going to give them to them half-assed. I just wasn't. The sweater I made for my daughter, I made her Superstitious Pullover. That is an example of one where it did not turn out the way I had wanted it to. It was originally supposed to be a hoodie. That also involved some pattern issues. But in the end, we decided to just turn it into a regular pullover. She loves it. I was very happy with it when it was finally finished. I also had the sense that I'm really glad that I'm done with this sweater. But in the end, I was very happy with the product. And I knew she was going to love it too. But, you know, overall, anything I'm giving to somebody else, I want it to be as good as I can possibly make it. Even though, you know, if they're not knitters, you could probably have flaws and things that they're never going to know is there, but you're going to know they're there, right? I will know they're there, and that will bother me. Versus if I'm making something just for myself, I am far more willing to live with imperfections in the item. It doesn't matter what it is, you know. If I've goofed something up and I'm pretty sure nobody else will be able to tell, but I can tell, if it's for me, I'm okay with that, you know. And I think that's the major determinant for me, is am I making it for myself or am I making it for someone else? And I thought about that for a little bit too. I'm like, oh my gosh, what does that say about me? Do I feel like I am not worth the time and effort of trying to make something perfect. And I don't think that's it at all. It's not a worth thing. I would love it if every project I make ends up perfect. But realistically, like, I know that something is going to be wearable even if it isn't perfect. And unless it's a glaring error, you know, that somebody who isn't a knitter is going to look at it and say, ooh, that's odd. You know, I'm probably not going to care. So, you know, like a sock, like if let's say I run out of yarn and I have to make my toe of one of my socks a totally different yarn, right? Nobody's going to see that because it's going to be inside my shoe. So I'm probably okay with, I mean, internally I'll probably be like, that's annoying, you know, but otherwise I'm fine with it because I know I can wear it. Nobody's going to know. Whereas if I have a sweater that I've made for myself and something ends up really funky, like that Ramona, the Ramona cardigan, that red sweater that I made over a year ago, and it was finished and it looked really nice, except the sleeves were really weird. My decreases on the sleeves and the sleeves were too long. I would never have worn that out. Even though it looked fine, it was a sweater, but I knew it looked kind of funny and I would not have been comfortable wearing it out like that. So that I did, you know, rip back and fix those sleeves to make them more appropriate in my mind. So again, that sweater may not be perfect, but it's definitely something that I'm happy with, you know, not as opposed to this where it's fine. It's good. Am I ever going to wear this constantly? Probably not. Am I going to use it as a show sample? Yes, I am, because number one, it'll look great on my mannequin. And number two, it shows off all these colors in Mountain Tweed BFL really, really well, or Mountain Tweed Merino, which is usually what my minis are. So it'll be a great sample piece. And in that respect, yay. So anyway, it was just something that I was thinking about as I finished these two projects. One needed to be perfect. The other one did absolutely not have to be perfect because it never was going to. And I was able to be okay with that. So tell me in the comments, like, what is that for you? Where is that dividing line between this has to be perfect, this doesn't have to be perfect, it's better to have it finished than to try to make it perfect? Where is that for you? I would love to know, because I'm sure we all have different criteria and different, you know, dividing lines between those two ends of that spectrum. And actually, those aren't even the ends. Perfect would be the high end. I guess the opposite end to that would be like, this is turning out like crap. I am never going to wear this. I hate it. And I'm going to frog it. That would be that end. And then there's perfection. And then there's like the better finish than perfect. And then there's the, this is done. I like it. It's really nice. I'll wear it, but you're not super jazzed that it's not like crazy perfect. I mean, I'm sure there's other points on that spectrum as well. Anyway, let me know. It's just a point of thought that I thought would be really fun to kind of explore with fellow makers. So anyway, I hope you have a really good week, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.